today to talk about the election results and what might happen in November. My name is Alex Pederson, and I used to work for Councilmember Tim Burgess and have a neighborhood newsletter for Northeast Seattle. And we've got some great panelists here who are political commentators, observers, and journalists. And so we're going to start in about 4 minutes when our last panelist arrives.
We could go around the room and introduce ourselves.
That would be great. Yeah, do your normal intros for us. Thank you. Could you start over there?
With last.
Oh yeah, sure. I'll be Donahue.
Bob Rosenberger, Rainier Beach. Joey from Cabot Hill.
John Paulson, Rainier Beach.
Hi, I'm Michael Oxman. I'm a resident of the urban forest.
John Coelho, Fremont.
Sarah Jane Siegfried, Lake City.
Jim Moser, Lake City.
Roger Pence, formerly of Beacon Hill, currently in Edmonds.
John Barber, the Leshigh neighborhood. We're going to be circulating our SMC baskets here. We need to pay for the rent. Seems like almost every month we come up short. We need your contributions.
Petition to get the city council to fund our aging park facilities.
Ellen Beck, Lipton Springs. Janine Reese, West Seattle Junction Neighborhood Organization.
Clark University.
Brian Berdowski, City of Bellevue, former King County Councilor and citizen activist.
Jeff Floor, Central District, Leshigh.
Max Tehran, Neighborhood Greenways. I live in East Green Lake, North Roosevelt.
Capitol Hill, also part of the Madison Miller Park community group.
Ruby Holland, Leshigh.
Vladimir Gold, Seattle.
Lloyd Douglas, Cascade.
Jim Erickson, First Hill.
Rich Johnson, Mount Baker.
All right, we have our last panelist here, so we're going to get started soon. One moment. All right, good morning again.
Good morning.
Welcome to this post-election panel of political writers to analyze the primary elections here in Seattle. Today's post-election panel is, of course, hosted by Seattle Neighborhood Coalition, all of you. And thank you for introducing yourselves to us. My name is Alex Pederson. I'm filling in this morning at the request of one of your fearless leaders, Bill Bradford. I served as a legislative aide to City Councilmember Tim Burgess, where I worked on the Seattle preschool program and other issues. My background is primarily in affordable housing, getting my start at the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development during the Clinton administration. I'd like to say during the first Clinton administration. For the past 3 years, I've published a neighborhood newsletter called 4 to Explore. Focuses on Northeast Seattle, where my family and I live. We're very fortunate to have at this table some of the most knowledgeable and perceptive political commentators here in Seattle. They all work very hard to cover the political news. They're all excellent writers. We very much appreciate their generosity in not only attending today's panel, but also sharing their insights with us about Seattle's current elections. Here's a quick overview of the agenda. I will quickly introduce the panelists, then we'll jump into the panel discussion. I'll ask the first several questions. After each question, our panelists will each take a turn to answer if they wish, and we'll try to keep their answers to about 2 minutes just to keep us on the schedule. We have some cushion in the agenda for some back and forth among the panelists. And then answering all of my questions will take up about the first hour or so, and then we'll open it up to questions from the audience. And as you know, we need to finish around 11:30. Let me introduce the panelists. At my far left is Erica C. Barnett. She's an expert observer of politics, especially in City Hall where I used to work. She's been a writer and editor, as she likes to say, since the time of electric typewriters. And she worked for Publicola, The Stranger, and Seattle Weekly. Now, personal, during my lunch breaks at City Hall, I would immediately surf the Publicola website and read her articles to find out what my colleagues at City Hall were actually doing. And her investigative reporting was really important to add context to what was really going on that the Seattle Times is not covering. And for the past few years, Erica's had her own very popular political blog called The C is for Crank, with over 12,000 followers on Twitter. You can read more of Erica's articles and commentary on thecisforcrank.com. Then Venice Buhain of The Globalist. Venice is the news editor at the Seattle Globalist. Venice has covered education and politics. She's also the president of the Seattle chapter of the Asian American Journalists Association. Venice has covered the mayoral election closely. She's published a very informative piece in which the mayoral candidates each answer 6 policy questions at length. You should check it out at the Globalist, seattleglobalist.com, especially the responses of Durkin and Moon. Geov Parrish. Over 20 years ago, Geov launched a publication called Eat the State, and he's written for The Stranger, Seattle Weekly, Mother Jones, and other publications. Geov currently has a weekly segment as part of the Mind Over Matters public affairs show on KEXP, where he sped from just moments ago in a heroic arrival here. And he publishes a monthly column also for City Living newspaper. Geov recently published an analysis entitled, Can Moon Beat Durkin?, which you can read at geov.org. And I'm sure we'll find out what he thinks the answer is to that. So let me set the table here for our discussion. For the middle of July through the evening of August 1st, voters mailed in their ballots for mayor of Seattle, both the at-large, the 2 at-large city council seats, port commissioner, King County executive, and in many neighborhoods, Seattle School Board. In addition, there was Prop 1 to increase the local sales tax for the benefit of arts, science, and cultural programs. Today's panel will probably focus on mayor and Seattle City Council. 187,000 people cast their vote for Seattle mayor in the primary. That's 40% of the registered voters versus only 35% turnout during the previous mayoral primary in August 2013. Over 55,000 more people are likely to turn out in November. So here's the first question. Panelists, what surprised you? Focusing on the positions of mayor and city council, which election results did you not expect? Let me start with Eric.
Oh, well. Okay. Thanks for having me here. I would say this isn't exactly a surprise because I'm always wrong on my predictions consistently. But I was surprised that Carrie Moon got through because I didn't think that the bump from the Stranger's endorsement was as significant as I think it turned out to be. Stranger endorsed her. They also sort of hedged their bets by sort of co-endorsing Nikita Oliver after the fact, but I think that didn't really matter because people pull the cheat sheet out of the paper, do whatever they do, and that said Karen Moon. And I think, she's a relatively political unknown. I mean, I wrote about her back in 2005 when she was trying to stop the tunnel, but she's kind of been, not nowhere since then. I mean, she's been working, but not in city politics. So I was really surprised. I thought Nikita Oliver was going to make it through. Just on the basis of, of everyone I talked to. I mean, people who I would not think would vote for Nikita Oliver based on their politics were voting for her, you know, sort of on principle, not on policy necessarily. So, you know, it just goes to show, my predictions are always wrong, and I live in a bubble, but I thought Nikita was going to make it through.
Hi, thanks for having me. So actually what surprised me was that Bob Hasagawa didn't do better than he did. I was, you know, because of, you look at the slate of candidates and the top candidates, he was kind of one of the more experienced in terms of like knowing how to, or being a politician and campaigning, and also probably like the biggest known quantity, but maybe that was also kind of what influenced people, maybe they were looking for something more. So, but I was actually really surprised that he didn't seem to do, didn't seem to campaign better than he actually did. And so, and I was also kind of surprised about, like, you know, the results just given kind of the, you know, just kind of given the person on the street, you know, I guess scuttlebutt about like who they were voting for. I expected Nikki Oliver to get through. You know, you didn't hear a lot of people like, you know, going out for Carrie Moon, but you know, that was just, but then again, you know, that's just like the people that I know, and you know, and I guess the demographic on Facebook or whatever it is, you know, that could be part of contributing to the bubble. So yeah, so those were the two things that really surprised me.
Thanks also for having me, and I'm sorry I was a little bit late. Sorry, I was something about traffic in Seattle. I was surprised that I was right. I had the top 6 in order, and the reason I didn't think Oliver would get through, even though she had by far the most buzz and the most passionate supporters, is primary elections tend to skew older and more conservative. Those are the people who vote regularly in off-year primaries, and it skews north of the ship now. In fact, large, I think it's 35 to 40% is north of 85th. And I didn't think Oliver would be strong in those areas, and it turned out she wasn't. Her base was Rainier Valley and district precincts. So she did well, and obviously she came very close, but I didn't think that would be enough to put her over the top. I thought Bob Hasagawa's campaign was just crippled by the record-long legislative session because he could not raise money legally until the legislature was formally declared over, which even in a contested budget year like this year, folks would expect that to happen by June 30th. It didn't happen until mid-July as ballots were being mailed out. So he couldn't raise any money, couldn't do any paid-for voter contact. And you know, if you're under 50 in this city, you don't remember the days when Hasagawa was a young labored firebrand and activist who really made a name for himself. And the split between him and Oliver was very much generational. I think she would have done better if he wasn't in the race, and if he had even a couple of weeks to fundraise, I don't think she comes as close. The thing that surprised me in terms of the election, I thought Sarah Nelson had a lot of momentum from her last minute advertising blitz. She was a business support candidate for city council in the race with John Grant and Teresa Mosqueda. She almost beat Grant, but not quite. I thought she would get through, and she did, which personally I'm kind of glad about, but I was surprised that happened.
Excellent, thank you. Speaking of money in campaigns, new thing this time, democracy vouchers. And then also there was a concern that the independent expenditures would increase. There was some self-financing that occurred as well. So let's talk about democracy vouchers, independent expenditures, just sources of money for these campaigns. Which do you think had the most influence during the primary, and what do you think will have the most impact during the general election? And just got online this morning, the democracy vouchers, apparently there was about $395,000 spent on democracy vouchers, and for the independent expenditures, it was about the same amount of money, which was interesting.
Well, so democracy vouchers, as you guys probably all know, are only for city council candidates and city attorney, right? So we'll see that in November. You know, I think they did have a significant impact in the position 8 race. The independent expenditures in that race were not huge, although Teresa Mosqueda did get some help from labor. But I think, you know, I think John Grant raised a tremendous amount of money on democracy vouchers alone, which I do think helped him in that race. I think in the mayor's race, I mean, the IEs, well, actually, sorry, going back to position 8, Sarah Nelson, on the other hand, had a lot of money in independent expenditures. I mean, I was just looking at it, it's like $175,000 or something like that, and she didn't make it through. So the Chamber of Commerce kind of wasted its money on her. In the mayor's race, I mean, Jenny Durkin has raised so much money of her own. I mean, I think it's like over $500,000 now just for the primary. She's getting some IEs, but I think, you know, she's going to get so much money that it might be that she doesn't really even need the independent expenditures because she's going to be, you know, $1 million, $1.5 million candidate.
Yeah, we're really in unknown territory in terms of the amount of money that Durkin is going to be able to raise in November for the mayor's race, the amount she's already raised, and whether spending that money is even cost effective. I mean, there's only so many direct mail pieces you can send out to every household before it becomes a waste of money. There's only so many Facebook and cable ads that you can run before, yeah, okay, we know she's running for the channel. So I don't know how much of an impact it will have. I think the democracy vouchers had been available for the mayor's race, you know, all over the general election this year. So the fact that it was not in the mayor's race made a determinate difference there. Other than that, you saw Grant fairly narrowly win in the position, or actually finished second in the position 8 race. I don't think that happens without the democracy vouchers, so it was a determinative there as well.
I have one quick thing. I do think, you know, one cautionary thing in the mayor's race is that Carrie Moon can spend her own money, and that's what she did in the primary. So she spent almost $100,000 or $90,000 of her own money. She's very wealthy, so she has a lot of money to spend, and she said she's well-resourced. Moxie Media is her consultant, and they said we'll spend what we have to spend. So I mean, don't count that out. Even if Jenny Durkin raises $1 million, Carrie Moon might spend, you know, a few $100,000 of her own cash.
But Moon does not need to match Durkin for dollar for dollar. She just needs to raise enough money to get her own message out competitively. And both Durkin's family has quite a bit of money also. So resources are not going to be a problem between the two.
Okay, question 3, when we touched a little bit on this, but campaign strategies. Which campaign strategies were most effective at getting through the primary election? What mistakes did the losing campaigns make? And what strategies will the surviving candidates need to win on November 7th?
In terms of the losing strategies, I think the most spectacular failure among the candidates for mayor was Michael Gensfair getting traction at all, even though he entered the race with far more name recognition than any of the other candidates, which can be a mixed blessing. He had alienated a lot of the environmentalists that were his base when he ran in 2009, and I think attempted to appeal to neighborhood activists and groups, even though he was fairly hostile to them during his time as mayor. And I think people remember that. He didn't get a lot of traction with it, and he ended up doing very poorly, and there's a cautionary tale there somewhere.
I think John Grant had a strategy that was effective, but you know, I thought somewhat distasteful of taking a lot of credit for things that he was peripherally associated with, like the minimum wage campaign, where he worked as an organizer. But you know, he sort of, I think, you know, you have Teresa Mosqueda, who came in first, who, I mean, has just been this consistent, you know, I mean, powerful voice as a lobbyist for labor in Olympia. She, you know, was really involved in getting paid family leave passed and helped draft the minimum wage legislation. But, you know, I would say John Grant struck me as kind of the typical guy coming in and taking credit for, you know, a woman's hard behind the scenes work. And that's my personal opinion, but it's based on, you know, on knowing Teresa and having worked with her a little bit when I was at Mayoral Protest Washington. But I think that was very effective. I think he got out there and he said, I did this, and this is me alone, and got a lot of credit and got a lot of traction from taking credit for things that, were not his accomplishments alone.
So even though Nikita Oliver is not going to make it through, I thought that it was actually a really effective campaign and getting a lot of people excited about her, and not, just kind of going from a person that people kind of know in a certain niche of Seattle, and then, kind of getting her name out there kind of throughout the city. And I thought it was people getting excited about issues that, the other candidates aren't talking about, such as race and class and that sort of thing as well. So I thought that was, it's really effective in getting those conversations into the mix and kind of into the air. I mean, I'm kind of hoping that it continues through the general, even though she won't be there, but that's, so even though she lost, I thought that was really effective.
Yeah, I was going to go somewhere similar with that. People forget that before Sharma Sawant 4 years ago, it had been a long time since we saw any citywide campaign in Seattle that was really propelled by grassroots enthusiasm. And Sawant won in that model in 2013 and then was reelected 2 years ago in her district. And we saw both John Grant and Nikita Oliver utilize a lot of volunteers, get a lot of people excited, use those volunteers to do a lot of voter contact. And it's really sort of part of the toolbox of potential campaign strategies now that we really hadn't seen until fairly recently. So, and I agree with Venice that Nikita's campaign was very effective. Even though she didn't make it through, she really set the standard for the number of volunteers that she raised, the amount of passion that they brought to the campaign, and really taking somebody who could have been seen as a fairly niche candidate with a narrow range of interests and a narrow base, and making her a factor citywide. So it was a very effective campaign.
To add some context to that, I have a Nikita Oliver sign still in my front yard. So speaking of Nikita and other defeated candidates, what will their impact be on the general election, keeping in mind that the general election will bring out 55,000 or so new voters? Erica, can we start with you?
I think if Nikita's voters end up going for Kerry, that will be really significant. I think that she, sort of has, it's kind of in her hands a little bit at this point because, I don't think that all those voters are necessarily Kerry Moon voters. Nikita and Kerry have very different policy positions on a lot of things, and and some voters vote on policy, some voters vote on personality, and some voters vote on name recognition and other things. But I think if she ends up, allying with Kerry Moon, I know Kerry has definitely indicated that she would like that. She's done sort of outreach to Nikita's voters. When they were counting votes, she said, "I want to help you count votes," and I think that's somewhat sincere and somewhat opportunistic because she needs those voters, and if they don't turn out again in the general election, she's going to have a really tough time. She already has a very tough time against extremely well-funded and way in the lead candidate, Jenny Durkin. So I think that could be a huge factor. Keeping in mind again, sorry, that my predictions are always don't listen to me.
Yeah, I think that the big question will be like how many people came out for Nikita, like for her positions, and how many were sort of inspired by her personally. I mean, I think it's a mistake to kind of assume that it was just kind of like it was a force of personality that got people out. I think that she kind of really spoke to people who were kind of who are regular voters and who kind of wanted to see her positions get some of her positions represented. And so I think I think that is kind of the big question, whether, whether Kerry Moon can get candidates excited for her, get Nikita Oliver's voters excited for her as well, and to come out for her for the general. And I think that's kind of yeah, like you said, a lot of that is in Nikita Oliver's hands, and a lot of that will be, how successful Carrie Moon is in convincing them that, she's sincere and that she, she's just not trolling for votes or whatever, so.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think it was being very smart and proactive in trying to get outreach to all of our voters, and I don't know whether she can make that pitch successfully or not. I've heard from a lot of all of our voters that, it's too wealthy white women running, and there's nothing there for us. I don't think Durkan is as clear-cut a favorite as the sort of conventional wisdom seems to make it. If you look at the top 6 candidates who ran reasonably well-funded campaigns, really it kind of divides somewhat neatly the wild card being that nobody really knows who voted for Mike McGinn or why, other than not many people did. But the other 5 candidates, you could kind of divide them into Durkan being the clear establishment favorite. She kind of inherited a lot of the coalition that was going to make Ed Murray a shoo-in 4 short months ago. And, business as usual is Jenny Durkan. That's what people want with her. They want some continuity in what's a booming economy and growing population and so forth. Oliver and Moon and Hasegawa ran as outsiders. They ran wanting changes in the status quo. Jessen Farrell, I think, was also appealing a lot to urbanism and increased density and so forth. And if you look at those 5 candidates and divide them into Farrell, Durkan versus Moon, Oliver, Hasegawa, it comes about even. There were about 60,000 more voters in 2013 for the general than there were for the primary. I think that's probably about what we'll see again this year. And those people are skew younger, they skew less affluent, less white than the voters in the primary, and that's going to determine who wins in November in the mayor's race. And it's really I think Oliver's going to be pivotal in that, in what she encourages for people to do. I think Moon would be smart to try and offer Oliver a place in her administration if she wins. For that reason, that she needs to demonstrate that she's serious about incorporating some of those policy positions. And we'll see what the voters who were not civically engaged enough to turn out for the primary but will for the general, we'll see how they fall on that.
Can I add something real quick?
Yeah, sure.
I would break down the voters a little bit differently. I think Carrie Moon's voters are very much Jessen Farrell voters. I mean, if people vote on policy, and I very much hope and wish that everybody votes on policy always, but I know that they don't. But I think Mike McGinn voters are more likely to be, sort of in the other camp, in the Nikita Oliver camp. So I think, right now you are kind of looking at 2 urbanists. And you are looking at 2 people who are various degrees of the same policies that we've had already. I don't think Carrie Moon is that radically different than Ed Murray in terms of what she would actually do as mayor. I mean, I think she is different, and I think Jenny Durkan is much more similar, and I think in some ways more conservative than Murray, but so that would definitely be a continuation of the same, but I wouldn't fool ourselves to think that, that Carrie Moon is going to be, a sort of Nikita Oliver substitute in any way.
Well, I actually did kind of take a peek at the last couple of mayoral elections, and I thought it was really interesting that in the past couple of cycles there's been there were like 2 in the primary. There were 2 people who were pretty much tied. It's like 20%. 2 people get 20% of the vote. This time it's I think it'll be interesting to see if your prediction comes true, your analysis comes true, to see if people coalesce around that 3 people actually represented 1 person, and that's kind of how that broke down. But kind of look at the pattern. I think it's a little bit different of a pattern than we've seen in the past couple of elections, where there were kind of 2 very clear front runners. And but yeah, I don't think that we can kind of necessarily assume that there was that there's like a Nikita, Carrie, Bob coalition, and then that fell off and fell in line.
Yeah, I